I have been looking at the views of the FIC for the past few days, and, well, I'm quite impressed by the viewing numbers. Either I'm getting better, or you people really like Full Metal Panic. And really love watching a good action movie take place. Chapter 5. Sasuke moved quickly and purposely, assessing and reassessing the battlefield movement within the main area. 20 minutes. In some ways, it was a blink of an eye, a scant amount of time to enjoy the rest of his life, and otherwise, it was an eternity. Plenty of time to reconnoiter, make plans, set up traps, or reach his chosen location. The bag bounced heavily on his back. Its weight was taxing and restrictive, but he blessed that weight. The items he had packed would prove quite useful. The weight would lessen with every trick and trap he set. His thoughts likewise were a heavy burden. But as he confronted each one, he drew it aside, no longer troubled by it. Kaname. There was so much they could share together as they escaped with their lives. Fishing. Wild nights. 2 kids. His feelings for her would get him through anything that was humanly possible, well betide anyone that stood in his way. This was personal. He thought back to Afghanistan and countless other battlefields. Friends he lost, foes he killed. Whatever lessons they offered, he stored away. The emotional baggage he flung aside. Morality, a soldier's honor, the code of battle, nobility of the cause. Those absolutely had no permanence here and now. Life or death, that was what was at stake, nothing more. Kaname must live. He was good at killing. It was a fact and little else. He took no pride in his talents, but was grateful for them when the need arose. Nevertheless, something new stirred inside him. A challenge. Some part of him eagerly embraced the notion. A measuring stick. Just how good was he? Some part of him needed to know. A means to an end. Deep inside, and a part of him never examined, a small bud of his soul grew to blossom. The enticing smell of vengeance excited him. If he made it out of the arena, someone would pay. If Kaname had been injured, they would pay with their lives. The primal part of him must be smiling. Sasuke didn't care. This time, he would be an animal with a purpose. He would be all the more dangerous. There was no fear. Danger was his bread now. There's no worry. He was now an embodiment of death and inevitability. Purpose? Purpose coursed through his veins. Purpose pulsed with every beat of his heart. Who did he face? He knew that answer. He had just a little threat each offered. What was the greatest threat? The woman, the sniper. She was allowed to establish her position unchallenged and unseen. It would only be a matter of time before he took a bullet. How would he coordinate their forces? Were he on the other side? He would send the criminals and less competent out first, use them as dogs to flush out the game. They would be the hounds of Zarloff. Of course, there might be no cooperation between those men. The kill would earn the killer a pass. Their pride and self-preservation would not prevent them from being used to benefit the others. No doubt. Every man, woman for himself. Where would he stake out? There was the optimal place to use his significant but limited resources. What was he working on now? Lying in the arena varied from zone to zone. Some areas were brightly lit, looking as if the afternoon sun lay straight overhead. Other areas were dark, practically unlit. In between, the landscape took on a book of twilight. Paths moved through each type of area. Tall structures, places of concealment, large open stretches equally spread throughout the arena. In the center of the large expanse, a number of short and squat chimneys stood. Cleanse. They were lit and operational, belching forth clouds of thick, dark smoke. Even the clouds grew thinner as they reached upward. The smoke would scare the view of certain areas. The arena was relatively quiet now. Soon enough, rifles, machine guns, and explosive devices that would soon break that silence spasmodically. As he quickly ran along the paths he made, with certain footprints could be seen to lead everywhere. Looks like the attendants have raked the paths after the last battle. Sasuke noticed that there were areas where the ongoing noises could serve as a cover. Old but functional conveyor belt systems for the factory were set up, moving their surfaces tirelessly. The strain and pinion of well-worn motors were complemented by the squeaking and squealing of poorly greased pulleys and bearings. Large and small cranes and lifts were mostly operational. They would tempt men with overactive imaginations and a penchant for unrealistic action films. The air smelled stale for the most part, but there were still lingering smells of gunpowder and other explosives. Every so often he came to areas where the smell of blood was strong. Bodies had been removed, with large areas of blood stained the path or made grotesque splash marks on the surrounding metal, brick, and wood. The stench of rot and decay permeated some of the darker areas, where the old wood and burlap lay decomposing. Some areas had strong industrial smell, and those were the ones that Sosuke sought out first. Good. Whoever thought here probably had not been given a sizable head start. No doubt had little time to use the environment to his or her advantage. A large number of full barrels of oil and gasoline products. Grunting, his injured back flaring up with pain intermittently, Sosuke opened barrels in strategic locations, spilling the contents on his foes might want to cross. Finished, he placed the empty containers out of sight. He placed small amounts of plastic explosives near the flash points, keying their micro-detonators to a certain frequency on his trigger pad. He checked his watch. 12 minutes gone. Time to kick into a higher gear. Stopping to catch his breath, he shifted to his bag, taking stock once more. Yes, he had a good spot marked down for his anti-personnel mines in C4. Running again, he placed his remaining plastic explosive in areas where large and small items of many traps lay precisely stacked to make dreadful deadfalls. Excellent. His own attempt arranged for his melee man-catcher. Finished with that task, he carefully contained a number of particularly dangerous mines. In the late 1990s, most of the countries of the world signed and ratified the Ottawa Treaty, abolishing the use of anti-personnel mines. The USA, Russia, and China did not sign Sosuke's signature was also absent from said document. All of his mines were the fruit of Mithra's labors. Half his stock were smaller, but more deadly versions of the tried-and-true Claymore mine. He would be set to trigger by sound, movement, pressure, vibrations, or remote detonation. He set each to whatever better best suited to his location. The remaining mines were jumpers, also with multiple means of triggering. Those ought to be as surprising as deadly as Rainsford's Uganda native trick. He saved two for future placement. Finished with his traps, Sosuke ran towards one of the two towers he wanted to explore while time remained. Seeing a number of large deep pits, he halted dead in his tracks. Was there time? He would try and see. One of the series of pits was near any area he had soaked with petrol. If he could make them look like the ground, it would be a tempting place to run for anyone trying to avoid a sudden conflagration. The selling points for his plan were a pile of large traps and a small dumper car filled with dirt and rubbish. Sweating and occasionally grunting in pain, Sosuke spread the tires across the pits. He pulled hard on a lever, emptying the small wheeled hamper of his contents, as he spread over the top of the pits. Good. It'll suffice. His own version of the Rainsford Burmese tiger trap. He checked his watch. Damn! Time was running out. There would be no chance to check out the view for the two remaining piles of materials he had narrowed his choice down to. He would have to choose one, climb it, and set himself up for his first task. That one. Not only was it the tallest, but it had a view of 3 out of the 4 tall structures on the opposite side of the arena. The area where he was told his foe would be entered the playing field. He held it wasn't too wobbly or overly difficult to exit when the time came to move. Am I the only one who would love a Full Metal Panic MGS fic right now? The tower appeared to be constructed by a haphazard stack of structures, housing from amusement parks and miniature golf establishments. It rocked and swayed as he climbed, making the ascent slower and more exciting than he had hoped for. The top of the structure consisted of a small replica of a turreted castle, complete with arrow slots and crenulations. That was his destination. Pulling himself up, he noticed that the setup was not entirely random. Small metal fragments and parts of various machine structures laid everywhere. They were easy enough to dislodge, and made a terrible racket as they fell, bouncing off the larger metal and wood structures below. At the top, he moved some rusted metal panels around, using them as shielding. found his best vantage point, sat down, and took out a pair of high-power binoculars. He had a built-in infrared detector, small but some value at this distance. Almost time. He had to get the sniper. He must do it before the other members of the opposition ascertain his location and cut off his chosen escape routes. His actions needed to be orchestrated perfectly. He needed to stay on the attack as much as possible. As soon as his choices were limited to defense alone, he was likely a goner. Maybe not right away, but sooner or later. He found another one of his favorite short stories, Liam O'Harley's Sniper. It pit two snipers against one another in the 1920s Dublin, at the heart of the Civil War. You do not need to worry about the tragic ending of the story. One where the sniper found that the man he had killed was his brother. I had read that. It's a really good short story. The contest will now commence. Major prizes and rules have been announced. There's an additional prize for the man or woman who kills Sosuke Sagara. Mr. Gawa has offered a purse of 50,000 euros. So he'll double that amount and Mr. Sagara's head is delivered to her intact. Begin! Sosuke had visits of the movie version of The Most Dangerous Game. The name of the scene was Zoro's grisly trophy room. You know that Kurtz would have said had he been there with him. Sosuke, old chum, try not to lose your head. He grimaced. Well, Kurtz and Melissa get there in time. Cool, he pulled this off alone if he did not. Kaname's head was spinning. First, the near-death experience with Mawe, the total nutcase. Second, being shown amongst Reginald's wealthy friends as she was some kind of trophy. Sosuke's girl. Reginald's special guest. Then the announcement. Money offered for Sosuke's death in his head. This all reminded her of a television show she came to enjoy while staying in America. This was like something out of that Twilight Zone. That alone had her worry. That zone was not known for happy endings. Kaname, dearless, what do you think of this room? My father had it set up for me last year, sparing no expense. The wood is all endangered, smuggled out of each and every rainforest on the globe. Most of the species are banned, but they polish up so beautifully, don't you agree? What good is wood and trees? Who sees it there? The cronies all nodded their heads or vocalized their agreement. Many had made it a point to buy paneling for their own homes instead of made of similar woods. Reginald painted a little ahead, running to the various camera angles on the large wall-mounted television. Of course, it will mean you have to dance shoeless. That's the same, actually, when shoes are the only thing a woman wears. It's so very enticing. Reginald's soft, almost calm voice coaxed Kaname into speaking. Actually, I'm not much of a dancer. 2 left feet, I'm afraid, so the table will be quite safe. I'll just sit here with you, watching the show. She hated that word. This was no show to her. Well, I must say I'm rather disappointed. That leaves me with only 2 choices. I suppose it would be unkind to simply return you to Miss Sagawa. I absolutely hate doing anything she likes. No, it'd be better to loan you to my friends as a party favor, so to speak. That means you'll miss the show, since we can't have all that grunting and moaning interrupting the audio feed. He waved his arms around the room. What a shame. All of these screens are 80-inch Samsungs, the largest plasma TVs in the world. You all just loved watching the picture while you danced. You have been a charming host and rescuer. I would hate to disappoint you. Kaname flinched, realizing how desperate she sounded. Am I dancing would make up for your inconvenience? It would be rude me to refuse. Oh, I knew I had judged you correctly. What a fortunate man Sosuke is, to have had such a beautiful woman while he lived. Please, step them under the table. He called his hangers on, knowing they would be heartbroken to be excluded from the spectacle. I've sent Celia into my on-site CD collection to find some suitable music. I suggested a Borel or 3. I do have a couple of CDs of belly dancing tunes, if you prefer that. Reginald's smile made Kaname wish she would give him a reason to visit a plastic surgeon. Oh yes, a dance of the 7 Veils. Wanted to tell you I was overly getting excited. What? Try not to be so moronic. Reginald retorted. Please, take yourself off my premises. Your very ignorance unsettles me. He turned to talk to Kaname as the 2 attendants traveled the bangling man away. Descent of the Seven Veils is only associated with belly dancing by the unlettered and the uncouth. Oscar Wilde's play fictitiously had Salome do such a dance. Well, it was not meant to be seductive, as your dance will be, right? Reginald looked Kaname up and down. Richard Strauss's opera did make the dance look provocative for its day, as barely clad women of Middle Eastern descent were popular in the pornography at the time. Women of Oriental descent could be quite fetching too, can they not? His look left no doubt he expected an answer. Yes, they can. Kaname felt as he were about to start swaying heavily. Oh, I apologize. How utterly insensitive of me. I never should have mentioned Salome. I hope you could forgive me. Reginald did not look in the slightest bit remorseful. Forgive you? Kaname, looking down in front of the table, was perplexed. What was he talking about? Yes. As you know, Salome was the daughter of Hedras, sister-in-law to Hedra, with whom she had an adulterous affair. They divorced their spouses so they could marry. Their act was condemned by John the Baptist. When Salome danced for Herod, he was so moved that he said he would give her anything she asked for. She wanted John the Baptist's head. It was delivered to her on a tray. He shook his head. What with Maeve's challenge and all, he had a smile behind his hand, but enough talk. The hunt has commenced, so too should the dance. Let's make this fun. For every minute that passes, you will remove one article of clothing. When Sosuke kills an opponent, you may choose to put one garment on, if you wish. He clapped his hands together as if warning a servant or a slave. If you please. It was an order, not a request. Kaname began to dance, not feeling the slightest bit excited to be doing a tantalizing act in front of men. Sosuke, you better kill them all fast, very fast. That thought shocked her. She was uneasy wishing for the deaths of others, even if they were all bad men and women, but she reminded herself it was them or Sosuke. She wanted Sosuke to live. She regained some of her spunk and put the energy to her dance. You live, take your time, but you're going to wish you had died. Madam Captain, it seems that we have a problem. Lieutenant Commander Cullinan had written the transcripts given to him by Lieutenant Concepcion. Miss Chittery has become embroiled in a heated conflict with Miss Segawa. At some point, her microphone will cease to transmit useful material. We have waited for an appropriate period of time with no change. I see. Has he been severely injured? Do we know why the transmission has changed so drastically? Tessa put down half her empty can of chilled coffee. What was the latest information pertinent to Sergeant Sakura prior to the end of transmissions? Eyes grew very condensed. There's no way of knowing Miss Chittery's condition. Our best guess is that the microphone was damaged or knocked someplace inconsequential. The latter could not have occurred whilst he was attached to Ware, of course. As for the sergeant, we had no way of knowing when his fight was to start, or whether it was currently underway. Mr. Cullinan did not show the slightest hint of concern or annoyance, as if he were carved in a block of solid granite. He did not verbalize his final thought. We do not know where or not Sergeant Sakura remains alive. That does present us with a problem. What do you suggest, Mr. Cullinan? How long will it take for our flying fire to infiltrate the premises? Tessa referred to the ground troops, dressed in actual uniforms supplied promptly by one of their contacts in the JSDF. The presence of a small fire and a disproportionately large cloud of smoke provided a suitable stratagem. Once the signal is given, it should take no more than 10 minutes for enough of them to make their way to strategic locations within the main buildings. Other men, dressed in street clothes or police uniforms, have all the obvious escape routes covered. I would recommend we start the operation immediately. The Lieutenant Commander accepted a cup of tea from the petite young woman. Once we have word from our infiltration group, I suggest that we end the assault at Truce Inn through the blast points of the roof. At the same time, we should send the armed slaves in. We have a number of vans, buses, and trucks ready. Our guests will be moved to a suitable location as soon as they are extracted. That approach seems reasonable, Mr. Cullinan. Please see that as implemented as soon as possible. Certainly, Madam Captain. May I make use of your intercom? Yes. Operation was set in motion. Sosuke had manhandled the heavy HK PSG-1 in place, making use of its tripod. The gun might be a chore to carry, but it was a dream to shoot. Highly accurate, semi-automatic. No need to work the bolt action. It might not be Kurt's weapon's choice, but it suited the younger sergeant just fine. He placed a number of 5-round clips of 7.62 onto the ground with an easy reach. Timing, enemy speed, and pattern of advance. His level of success would determine how many of the clips he would use. He might not remain at this height for too long once his exchange of fire started. He made certain to conceal almost behind solid walls. He made no noise. His heat signature would be well contained. Movement. To the left. Down low at ground level. He marked the man's persistent progress, but kept his eye for activity higher up. The man did not carry anything other than an assault rifle. He could wait. The sniper, Miss Von den Burek, must be located. He refused to believe that she would join in on the frontal assault without first trying to make use of her skills as a sniper. More movement. Another man at ground level, this time to the right. No rocket launchers or RPGs. He would be ignored for now. Even more movement. Another man. Those three were not subtle. They acted as if they believed they were under good cover, but they were not. They moved slowly and cautiously, but they were the first enemy seen. No doubt they were non-professionals or criminals. They had the desire to make the kill, and a mistaken belief that they had what it takes to be successful, lead them into a precarious situation. They would have followed the more capable men, watching, learning, taking advantage of their combat instincts. Soon enough, they would pay for their inexperience and rash decisions. A fourth man drew attention to himself, peering from around a stack of tires. He did not pay attention to the environment. He kicked up a large cloud of dust, giving away his position. Still, he made a dash for cover, running low behind a large row of crates. He stopped at the sound of one of the deadfalls. Suzuki removed his remote. This would not give away his position. He pushed number 6, exploding the C4, causing the multi-ton structure of metal parts to fall into the area the man had chosen for sanctuary. No chance for survival there. 1 down, 9 to go. At least not here. The crash of steel upon steel echoed through the arena. 3 visible men all threw themselves underneath the nearest cover. One man realized his mistake too late. The smell of petrol ever so strong. When Sosuke flipped switch 3, a small explosive ignited the field saturated ground, setting a large area ablaze. Screaming, the man barely fell out of the inferno, covered head to toe with greeny flame. He stopped moving thereafter. 2 down. It was not a loud sound at a distance, but it was distinctive. Metal bouncing off of metal multiple times. It spoke of height. It gave an area direction, and allowed Sosuke to be looking at just the right place at the right time. He realized how fortunate he had been. The woman had not gone for one of the highest vantage points. She chose a mid-level mound with good coverage. No doubt she was going to be patient, allowing the men to fletch her quarry into view. All she needed to do was crawl into position. She had chosen to start moving during the noisy collapse of the deadfall. Clever. It would have been better to have waited for masking another noise. She had made a mistake, or simply been bitten by misfortune. There was no antidote. Swinging his rifle around proudly, saying precisely, he fired 3 shots in rapid succession. He saw the woman's head jerk back abruptly. That should have been a hit. She should have no inkling to move her head like that voluntarily. Her hand lay sprawled on the edge of the mound. I am not a corporate head. I'm a specialist. His mind flashed back to the happenings of the sniper. The victor had played dead, sent his arm to plain view, tricking his unwary opponent. Unlikely here and now. The first bullet would have gotten there first before the first retort did. If I missed, then I deserved to die. 3 down. Things were doing better than he expected. He would not be cocky, however. There would be another sniper, for all he knew. Or someone willing to watch and wait. An opponent need not to be the top marksman to get lucky. He could track his team's position, watch his fellow combatants fall, and take out Sosuke when the moment was right. He needed to plan his moves accordingly as best he could. This is nothing unique. It's just like other battles he had been in. If anything, he had been in greater danger in the past against more desperate, skilled opponents. Those first 2 men had obviously not understood what had happened from a tactical viewpoint. As the loud noises had ceased, they regained their courage. Each had renewed their advance. They did not appear to be wearing anything bulky. Likely they did not have body armor. Hard shots would suffice. 2 shots. 2 more kills. 5 down. Nothing else visible. My persistence no doubt compromised now. Time to move. Sosuke reached into his bag and withdrew 3 smoke grenades. He tossed them some distance from his tower. When the smoke had created enough cover, he shouldered his bag and climbed carefully to the ground. Time to get close up and personal. Kaname continued to dance. She closed her eyes, trying to picture herself somewhere else, someone else. She opened her eyes very so often. Whenever money sprouts off of her, a number of people in the crowd were hooting or clapping rhythmically. I never kept yelling, "Take it off, baby!" She was more angry than embarrassed or afraid. She would be doing this voluntarily, for Sosuke, not under duress for a bunch of highbrow scum. If he could get her out of this, he would receive a pleasant surprise. She grimaced. Sosuke was taking his time getting started. She had already been obliged to remove her blouse and skirt. Why did I choose the day of all days to go without socks or stockings? The anklet bracelets did not count. Kaname was getting uncomfortably close to the unbearable, followed not too thereafter by the unthinkable. When Sosuke collapsed the large structure on a hapless enemy, she felt a chill relief pass through her. She put her blouse back on. Not 2 months later, another opponent met a fiery demise. On went the skirt. "You go, Sosuke!" she yelled, surprising herself. The men in the little simply let out a collective sigh. So did the women clapped her smirk. Just when it was getting interesting. Reginald chirped, not seeming in the least bit concerned. You can afford to be patient, but good things are worth waiting for. Are they not, Kaname love? Kaname felt her skin creep at his choice of words. Just what did she have to look forward to? She stopped that train of thought swiftly. As long as he was alive, as Sosuke was still breathing, there was reason to hope, right? If Sosuke kills another man while I'm fully dressed, do I get a ring checked? Kaname felt bold enough to speak up, started the casual manner in which he asked her question. On the large screen TVs, Sosuke could be seen firing 3 shots. The camera perspective quickly switched, showing the effect that the 7.62 rounds had on the woman's head. I must apologize, but that certainly would not be sporting. If you feel to blame someone, blame young Master Sagara. He appears to be much too talented to bet against. Reginald laughed, his mood soon picked up by his guests and servants. Sosuke! Kaname thought, I'll blame you all right. Just you wait. She stumbled, her calf muscles beginning to tighten up. Softball, swimming, and other physical activities had not prepared her for this. Oh dear me. I do hope you can keep dancing, Kaname. If not, you'll have plenty of time to rest those pretty legs. Flat on your back. Reginald made no attempt to hide his amusement. The crowd began chanting his name. He stood and took a bow. More whistling and hooting ensued, punctuated by the sound of wine glasses clinking against one another. Sosuke took 2 more targets. 2 more lives were promptly erased. The camera operator zoomed in quickly, planning on showing the resulting carnage. The crowd were disappointed. There was far too little bodily injury to suit their tastes. Where was the unspeakable thrill in simply seeing 2 men fall lifeless on the ground? One might as well watch longshoremen toss sticks and potatoes around. Death by immolation had set their bar very high. Reginald, after sending one crying to bring in fresh trays of finger foods and beverages, took time to say, There he goes, Kaname. If he was a good lover as he is a killer, you were quite lucky, young lady. Kaname could not help herself. She missed a step and her foot slid precariously to the table edge. Her breast would make a beat seem bloodless. The liver caught her more off guard than the whir unnerved her. Her dancing continued, seconds seeming like days. Time! Silly called out after another minute passed. What will it be, Kaname, dearest? The blouse or the skirt? Reginald smiled. Don't let the pace slow you down, though. Feel free to take off as much as you want, as soon as you're ready. No matter. It appears your boyfriend's moving rather cautiously now. Good for him. Better for us. Kaname let her skirt fall to the tabletop. Damn you, Reginald! Damn you, Sosuke! Oh, and Kaname, wiggle those delicious hips a little more, if you will. Gets the juices flowing in the most enjoyable way. The battle feels much more primal, mixing bloodlust with erotica. Reginald's request was met with shouts of glee. Kaname came dangerously close to refusing, or making an invisible smart-ass remark. She caught herself just in time. The result of such a misstep left little to the imagination. There was a sound of significant disturbance outside their cozy room. "What is that inconsiderable rabble up to?" Rizal asked, distracted. "Aki, Sabo, do go see what all the hubbub is about." "Be quick about it!" The noise grew louder. People could see me running past the doorway, jostling for position. "Where are those fools?" Rizal said to no one in particular. "Jackson, you go find out the answer. Go!" He snapped his fingers, and the heavy-set balding man walked quickly out of the room. "Time!" Celia laughed, a small kernel of concern croaking a smile. "Kaname, blouse." Rizal's words were cut short by his unease. Kaname was fuming. She was growing rather tired of all the indignities. She scored around every slight and insult. Somebody would pay. "Mr. Smithers, there are intruders in the building." Jackson had returned rather promptly. "They're said to be dressed as firemen, but are carrying weapons. They're hurrying this way. Security team won't slow them down for long." The statement was initially answered by a shocked silence. Soon a quiet, concerned babbling could be heard, replaced by everyone speaking their concerns all at once. People began standing up. Many began hanging for the door. Kaname smiled. Her prayers had been answered. The game would be soon over. Could those firemen be Mithril's soldiers? "Kaname, my sweet, do not stop dancing." After all, when the Titanic was going down, the musicians continued playing. Rizal turned to face the others, trying to project an aura of absolute calm. "There's no need rushing off, my friends. Where would we go anyway? The only way out is the way they are coming in. Besides, whoever they may be, no doubt they will be open to negotiations when large sums of money are involved." Rizal's reassertions proved ineffective. The majority of the men and women made their way out of the room. He grew furious, beating the tabletop with his fists, causing Kaname to momentarily lose her balance. "I will remember each and every one of you. Celia, write down their names now. Time!" Celia said, looking at a pad of paper. She had lost her smile. Eyes came darting towards the doorway. "Well, at least there's that," Rizal said with Rawls' bravado. His hands were trembling ever so slightly. Kaname noticed and smiled. She wasn't the only one under stress now. "It will certainly be a treat for we sturdy few. Kaname, bra or pantings?" Kaname swallowed hard. She looked once more towards the giant television screens, hoping to see Sosuke down another fire. No such luck. He was still working for position. "Yes, Kaname," Mawe's voice. "Please continue." The young woman stood in the doorway with two of her toadies. All held small handguns. "What are you doing here? You were not invited!" Rizal spoke heatedly, so far having missed the fact that the party crashers were armed. "You're quite mistaken," Mawe laughed. "I have my invitation right here." Swinging her gun to the side, she shot Celia into the chest, never taking her eyes off of Reginald. "It's rather tragic, but a number of people will die during this assault on our beloved clubhouse. Those invaders are rather ruthless, it seems." Her smile was rather frightening. "You cannot be serious. My father will—" Rizal could not believe what was happening. "Your father will unlikely be one of the unfortunate victims. I must admit, I got this idea from my father, who swiftly set a number of his plans in action once he learned we were under attack." She waved her arm in a broad arc. "Everybody against the wall. Last one there will be the next one gunned down." The remaining persons had scrambled over one another, rushing for the relatively safety of the room edges. A number of foolhardy men may have crushed for the door, choosing to play the odds. They lost. "Reginald, are your feet glued to the floor? You didn't move." Mayway brought her gun to bear on the swaying aristocrat. "Mayway, you've taken this game too far already. Stop now, and all will be forgiven." Rizal stammered as he spoke. Mayway laughed. Her smile vanished quickly when she saw Reginald give a single-file eye movement. She fired her pistol while rolling on the floor, not taking notice as her two henchmen tumbled to the ground. She fired 3 times. One more shot than was needed. Aki and Sabo fell heavily to the floor. Both laid unmoving just outside the door. "It's wonderful having an ex-mercenary for a father. When other girls were busy learning how to braid their dolly's hair, I was becoming adept at the use of firearms. Ah, the good old days. She smiled a toothy smile at a quivering Reginald. I owe you my sincerest gratitude. If I'd gotten your signal ready, I'd probably be down there with them. She pointed her nose to the two companions. As a result, I'm feeling very generous. With that, she saw her longtime rival in the knee. With the drama in the room being more compelling than the life or death show playing on the TV screens, no one noticed Sosuke make his 2 kills. No one except for Kaname. Slowly, trying not to draw attention to herself, she picked up her plastic skirt. Mayway looked at her and turned. Miss Tittery, I do not recall you calling you to get dressed. The Undertaker will take care of that, I'm certain. But, Sasuke, Kaname blurted out, 2 more kills. What? Did anyone see that? Mayway laughed as she saw each and every television screen in the room. I believe you are down to your panties. The gun pointed at Kaname now.